Right off the bat, looking at the title of our notes today, who can tell me the difference between yesterday and today in the part that I underlined? Yes, Anna. Oh my gosh. All right, so from now on, we might have to deal with problems with trinomials that have an a term, meaning x squared has a coefficient. So for example, if I were to multiply 2x plus 1 times x plus 3, my first term times my first term would be how much, Tate? 2x squared. Alright? Then that 2 also impacts my middles, right? It impacts my outers, and then that will in turn impact the sum of the outers and inners. So now we have to think about a's coefficient. Well, in number 1 we're pretty lucky because a's is a prime number. A is 2. And we're lucky when it's a prime because that means there's only 2 possibilities, 2 and 1, for the factors of 2. So I want to give you some steps before we start. Step number 1, don't laugh. Use pencil. If you use pen, you have to use pencil in my class anyways, but you're going to have to be comfortable with a little bit of guess and check. Then instead of just listing the factors of C, you need to list the factors of A and C. Then you need to find the product combination of outers and inners that will add to B. Yesterday I talked about checking the smiles. Today checking the smiles is mandatory. List the factors of A and C, A being the coefficient of x squared and C being the constant. Then we're looking for the product of the outers and inners that will add to B. So instead of it just being the factors of C that add to B, we have to think about how that first term will affect our factoring. So, like I mentioned before, we're lucky in number 1 because the coefficient of x squared is prime, meaning go ahead and commit to 2x and x, because we know that 2x times x will make 2x squared. You're going to anchor your parentheses with 2x and x. Now 6, we have two factor pairs, right? 2 and 3 and 6 and 1. But shouldn't I really just consider my negatives? Why would I disregard my positive factors? Anna? Yes, the middle term is negative, so I'm just going to write out my negative factors. Alright, so what you need to do is pick a pair and see what happens. I might have just guessed. Let's see. I picked those randomly and randomly put them in a spot. Let's check. That smile is negative 1x. This smile is negative 12x. Oh my gosh, did I guess right? I did. I got negative 13x when I added them up. I totally just guessed. Had I put 6 here and 1 here, it wouldn't have worked out. If I had chosen the other pair, it wouldn't have worked out. I should have chosen one that wouldn't. Why did I have to be such a good guesser? Yes, Eli.
Is it possible that 2x and x can be negatives? Are we not
well, it's easier to just have to not have the first term negative. So what I'll show you what to do, like when we get down to number 5. You can, there's a couple different ways you can do that. Okay? Alright, so number 2, we're lucky again. Put your parentheses. Why are we lucky in number 2?
3 is prime.
3 is prime again. So let's go ahead and commit to 3a and a. I'm not going to write out any negative factors this time because I only have positive numbers. So 4 and 1, 2 and 2. Well, just for kicks, you guys, I'm going to try 4 and 1. And positive. Go ahead and check your smiles. What happens? 4a, what's that? 3a. Uh-oh. We didn't guess the right one, did we? So, I have to erase. And so if you pick one that's not right, then your first step is just to reverse where you place them. So I had 4 and 1, so let me try 1 and 4. Well, that gives me 1a and 12a, which adds up to 13, so that's not right either. So now I can disregard 1 and 4. I've tried both combinations. If you can see what it is, go ahead and write it. I'm showing what you do when you can't see what it is. You guess and you check. And it takes me a bit to erase my values here. Okay, so now 2 and 2 is easy because they're the same number, right? Checking your smiles again. Ty, what do you get when you check your smiles? 2a plus 6a, yes, which is what we want, right? That passes the test. This is the answer. If you don't get it on the first try, you have to try until you do. Here we go again. Once again, we're lucky because 3 is prime. So commit to 3x and x. I tend to put the coefficient in the first set of parentheses, but that's just what I do. If you put it in the second, it will still work. So factors of negative 16, well, I'm not going to list the different negatives and positives, but I know I have 16 and 1, and I have 8 and 2, and 4 and 4. Well, depending on the size of my middle term will determine which one I start with. Right off the bat, I don't know. My tendency is to think that 16 and 1 won't work. Because if I multiply 3 times 16, I'd get 48. And 48 minus 1 times 3 is either going to be 45 or up to 51, right? So if I multiplied it differently and I had 3 plus 16, that would only be 19. So I don't think that 16 and 1 is going to work. So I think to start with 8 and 2. So let's first try putting the 8 here and the 2 here. Check your smiles. What happens? That's 8x. This is...
Wait, what are your signs?
Excuse me?
What are your signs?
Oh, what are my signs? Well, I'm not even going to worry about my signs yet. 8x there and 6x here. Is it possible to get 22 out of that? No. So we're going to have to, let's try first reversing them. Alright, so now I'm going to put my 8 here and my 2 here. Now when I multiply, is it possible? 24x and 2x. Which one has to be negative? Take the 2, meaning this one has to be positive. I don't fill in my signs until the end when I know that one of them has to be negative and one of them has to be positive. I check the smiles and figure out which one has to be negative for it to work. Yes, Katie?
On our homework, to check the smiles, can we do it in our head or should we actually draw it out?
This is what I would expect on the first night's homework. I would expect you to write it out. I want to see the check. I want to see 4x minus 2x is 22x. Is there a question in the back corner? There seems to be a little chatter.
No,
If you have a question, let me know, okay? Michaela?
How'd you get 24?
3x times 8. I multiplied my outers with my bottom smile. All right. Oh, yes, now he has teeth. Maybe he's angry. He's angry. All right. Sorry. I get carried away with my smile pictures. All right. You guys, we're not so lucky in number 8. Why do I think we're not so lucky? It's 8.
Because 8 is not.
8 is not prime. Well, don't fear. Write your sets of parentheses. And I need to clear some room, so I'm getting rid of this from my previous problem. So go back to the steps. We need to list the factors of A and C. So Ty, what are the factors of 8? 8 and 1. Good. And then Coleman, the factors of 15, please.
1, 15, 3,
And 3 and 5. Nice. My word of advice is, depending on the size of C, start with the middle of the road factors. I mean, we're going to start with the means and not the extremes. 8 and 1, aren't those higher? Like 8's much higher than 4, right? Comparatively so? So the 4 and 2, I would consider those middle of the road factors. So I'm going to start with that and see what happens. So anchor your two sets of parentheses with 4x and 2x. Now, go ahead and decide for yourself which pair of factors for 15 you're going to try. All right, try 1 and 15 if you want, and see what happens. You changed your mind? You're going to start with 3 and 5? All right, so if I put 3 here and 5 here, I'm just guessing. Let's go ahead and multiply our smiles. We get 6x and 20x. Hey, can that result in a difference of negative 14?
Yes. If it's negative 6.
If what?
If it's negative 6.
I don't think so.
If it's negative 3.
If it's... The 20 has to be negative, doesn't it? So which number makes the 20 negative? The 5. So put the minus here and the plus there. That makes negative 20. We check our smiles. It's negative 14. Oop, forgot my y in each place. We've done our check. Once again, when I put the 3 where I put it and the 5 where I put it, don't be rude. When I put the 3 where I put it and the 5 where I put it, it was just guessing, okay? I kind of also know what to do, but for the most part, it's just guessing. So if you miss it the first time, erase and reverse, okay? The last thing you should do is worry about your signs. All right, here's one way to do number 5, okay? I'm going to show you one way on number 5 and then another way on number 6, okay? All right, so on number 5, my first term is negative. All right, so I'll show you another method on 6 if you don't like this method. So my factors are going to be negative 4 and 1, negative 1 and 4, negative 2 and 2. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to tell you guys that one of them needs to be 4. So if one of them is 4, what's the other one?
Negative 1.
Negative 1, or we'll just call it negative n. Well, 3 is prime, right? So we're lucky in that case. Let's see, where can we put the 3 and where can we put the 1? Anyone want to take a guess? Raise your hand if you want to take a guess. Coleman, is that a guess?
Yeah, you would put the 1 on the left side.
Okay.
And then you put the 3 on the right side.
All right, let's check our smiles. That becomes negative 1n, or negative n, and this becomes positive 12n. Yes, that has a difference of positive 11n. Good. So that's one way to deal with the negative, the first term being negative. All right. Here's the second way to deal with it. 12, 24, and 63. Do they have a greatest common factor?
12. Oh wait, no. 12, 24,
3. I think 3 is the biggest number that goes into each of them. So watch what I'm going to do. I'm not just going to factor a 3 out, but before I do my factor my trinomial to 2 binomials, I'm going to do the greatest common factor first. And anytime you see a trinomial that's all divisible by the same number, you can do that. And in particular, I chose to do a negative 3 because I think it's easier when the first term is positive. Okay, so what's negative 12 divided by negative 3? Positive 4x squared. Go ahead and finish taking the GCF if you haven't already. 24 divided by negative 3 is negative 8. And then 63 divided by negative 3 is negative 21. All right. That will make this problem a little easier. Yes, Anna? Exactly. So like on number 5, we could have started out by factoring negative 1, 4n squared, minus 11n, minus 3. Definitely. So leave the negative 3 out in front. Just leave it alone. It's going to be part of your answer. Don't think about it right now. Do your 2 sets of parentheses. Think about factors of 4. 4 and 1, 2 and 2. I'm going to start with 2 and 2. Middle of the road factors are what I like the best. And then, Katie, what are my factors of 21?
21 and 1, and 7 and 3.
And 7 and 3. Which one do you like the best? Take a guess.
7 and 3.
I like 7 and 3 too. They're middle of the road. 8 is relatively smaller than 21 and 1. Or, you know, if I had to multiply 21 by 2, I get to 42. It'd be hard to get back to 8, right? So start with 7 and 3. Luckily, it's 2 and 2, right? So it doesn't matter really where I put the 7 and the 3. 7 times 2 is 14. 3 times 2 is... Which one has to be negative to make this a negative 8? The product of 14 has to be negative, so the 7 has to be negative, and this has to be positive. Now, when you write out your answer, you have to include that negative 3, and you just leave it out in front. That's the complete factorization for this. Yes, if you see a common factor, it makes it much easier to take the greatest common factor first. In fact, you must do that. If you don't, you could have something like 6x plus 21 and 2x and 3. That would work too, but greatest common factor is a little better. Okay? All right, so now what do you think is going to change? Or what else do we have to do, rather, for 7 and 8? Kevin? You have to solve it. So beyond factoring, you're going to set each of the factors equal to 0. I'm going to do one with you, and then you guys are going to finish the rest. So this one's already all on one side equal to 0, so we didn't have to put it into standard form. Will, why are we lucky on number 7? 5 is prime. So go ahead and commit to 5x and x. List out your factors of 18. 18 and 1, 9 and 2, 6 and 3. Take a guess which one you think it is. Ingrid? You think 9 and 2? All right, let's try it. 9 and 2 here. Let's see, that becomes 18x. This becomes 10x. Uh-oh, that's 28. All right, so let's try a different combination. Then we should try reversing them, right? Really, if the first try doesn't work, your next thing is to reverse the order. So what's that? That's 2x, 9 times 5. Well, it's going to be way too big. 45. So I think we chose the wrong pair. It's all right. This is how you get good at it, is you make a lot of mistakes. So, Griff, which one do you think it is now?
63.
I agree. Where do you want to put the 6 and where do you want to put the 3?
We'll put the 6 first.
Here?
Yeah.
And the 3 here? All right, let's try that. So 6 times 3 is 6x. 3 times 5 is 15. Is that going to add up to 27? Uh-oh. All right, so let's reverse it. So let's get rid of that. Excuse me, it takes me forever to reset here. So put the 3 here and the 6 there. Now check your smiles. That becomes 3x. The bottom smile is 30x. Which one has to be negative to get a negative 27? The 6 does, because we want that to be negative. We want that to be positive, and then we have a difference of negative 27x. So great, we finished factoring, but the directions here said to solve. So you have to take that one last step and set each of the factors equal to 0. Show me that you know how to use it. Show me that you know how to use the zero product property. I'm going to get rid of this so I have some room to write. X minus 6 is 0. So now we're getting answers because it said to solve. 5x is negative 3. X is negative 3/5, showing me work. And x is positive 6. So you have two answers. X is negative 3/5 or a 6. All right, what I'd like you to do is to finish number 8 and then go ahead and do the back side. But I want to give you one bit of correction, actually. Go to number 10. And on number 10, I need you to change 3 to 14. There was a typo. You need to change 3 to 14 for number 10. Then, on number 11, I'm really excited to see what you guys find out. Okay? All right, you have the 10 minutes to finish this, and then you can start homework.